Good morning. For those of you that don't know, I've been bootstrapping my little candle business with the goal of taking it from a side hustle to a legitimate, proper business in the last couple of years. So, in today's episode, vlog number 5, I'm going to be talking about how I got into candle making, how I learned how to make candles, and then I'm just going to take you on a bit of a journey, and hopefully you guys will learn something too. So let's get into it. It's been all go this week as well. Work has been super busy, just loads of customers. Once the sun comes out, our lovely little village pub just gets rammed. I've got a wedding this week for 100 people, so that's a whole different menu to prep for. I've also been exercising like a madman and just trying to hashtag slay the candles. Oh, that was awful. But yeah, I've just been absolutely caning on the candle front. I've sent about 150 units into Amazon this week, optimized all my listings, and it just feels like I've got a lot of momentum, and I'm just trying to keep up with that. On top of that, I've been forcing myself to get up at 6 a.m. every single day, which is early, but I feel much more productive getting up nice and early. I get a lot more done before I go to work, and it just starts the day off and just creates that momentum. Get a bit of exercise in, and it's just nice to get out with the dog proper early. So yeah, things are good. Positive, but tired.
Right, let's talk about how and why I started making candles. So I'm going to do a little screen record on my computer and sort of narrate what I've written down and go through like the history of my candles, the good ones and the bad ones, and just a little bit of why. Why did I start this little random business? So let's get right into it. So, as with many of these side hustles, it began in lockdown. I was working full-time as a chef, and then it hit. Good old COVID. And then the lockdowns. It was a very confusing time. I had no idea what was going on. I was lucky enough to be furloughed, so that was full pay minus 20%. And aside from drinking pretty much every day, a habit I've since kicked, got rid of all of the alcohol, anything like that. I don't drink anymore. I think I'm well over 3 years sober. But that's a different story for another day. I decided I needed to do something to make money. Basically, what I didn't want to happen was come out of these lockdowns fatter, poorer, and just generally a bit shitter. I wanted to come out somewhat productive and feel like I've actually achieved something rather than sitting around drinking and playing World of Warcraft is what I did in the first lockdown. It was fun, but just a waste of time. And I thought at that time I would never get this opportunity again to be at home for that long whilst getting paid a bit of money. Like, felt like if I wasted that opportunity, I would be forever annoyed with myself because it's never going to happen again. And then I've always sort of been into money making, doing things online. I've had many failed businesses, from an SEO agency back in like 2009, 2010, reselling services. So I could buy, a bit like the SEO, so I could buy people's backlinks and resell them, or I could buy other services and resell them on Fiverr. eBay selling, I was trying to do a bit of buying and selling. I tried to make my own products. Bit of marketing, I tried doing like marketing for local businesses, but I never really tried. And then Amazon FBA. With all of these things, I lacked consistency and never saw it through. I never did it properly. I tried it for a bit and go, this didn't work, and I just give up. I just lacked that discipline in my brain, which is something I've developed in the last sort of 4 or 5 years. Just sticking at something. Like, all of these businesses work, I just never stuck at it. Or I'd get really drunk on a weekend, and then I'd be hungover for like 2 or 3 days, and then I just wouldn't get back into it. And I'd always be like, I'll do it tomorrow. I just lack that sort of, drive. But with Amazon FBA, it's the first time I saw like major traction. It's like a model that actually made sense for me to buy something and to sell it for more. It's something I used to do as a little kid at car boot sales. I used to buy Pokemons, like shiny ones, and I used to sell them on. And I've made a fair bit of money doing that as a kid. I think one day I maybe made like 90 quid or something like that, which is pretty decent. However, like, constantly buying stuff and reselling it, sourcing it, becomes a bit tedious. You're constantly looking for that next thing. So I'd be scouring like Tesco or Asda, or I'd go to B&M. I'd be scanning stuff in the aisles, trying to find things to sell. And it was good fun. It was like a bit of a treasure hunt during COVID, because it means I could go out and go shopping and do a few things. And then you could do a lot of online arbitrage as well. But it just felt like I was constantly chasing something. None of it felt sustainable. Just like a big treasure hunt all the time. And I'm not sure how I stumbled upon the idea, but but I saw something online about making candles. Like in old gin bottles and wine bottles, you can get like glass cutters and you sort of cut them and then you make a nice candle. And I thought they look really cool. And I thought, aha, this is maybe something that I could do. And I thought it might not be that hard. Turns out actually it was pretty hard. But then I think I bought the domain that day, just Suffolk Candles, because I thought I live in Suffolk, I'm going to make candles, that'd be a nice brand. What I wanted to try and do was like a, but my goal was to aim at basically rich, middle-aged housewives that've got loads of money into like a farmhouse, shabby chicy style kind of brand. And it sort of worked in the beginning. But what I really wanted to do was create like a brand, a legacy, something I could build. And due to all the skills I've developed over time, it was a fairly easy start because I've sort of got the web design down. I know how to do some images, I could take some photos, I could get a logo, and I could do it all myself. To a relative degree. I'm not the best at it, but I'm a bit of a jack of all trades. But I was so excited to start, I genuinely couldn't sleep that night because I was like, yes, I can actually build something and create something rather than me just hopping to the next product. So I'm super excited about this. And then it came to actually making the candles. In the beginning, I just bought a load of random stuff on eBay because I didn't really think about it. I thought you just melt some wax, get a bit of fragrance, get a wick jar, and then just do it. It's not that easy. So what I got in the beginning was pillar wax. In order to actually make container candles, you need container wax. So I made some pretty rubbish candles, but they weren't entirely awful. It wasn't enough to deter me from doing it. And then after a bit of playing around, I managed to make something that was passable, which we will see below. The history timeline of Suffolk Candles. Let's have a little scroll down. So this one here on the left was one of my first candles. And they look like Dorito jars. I think I did double wicks on these because I couldn't quite get a single wick to work. So I thought I'll just do 2 wicks because at least it melts. And they weren't horrendous. And I thought, because I did this originally just to make money, I thought I'll just stick it online for £16.50. I had no idea if it was any good. I thought I'd just give it a punt. I think I sold one. It took about a month and I was like, oh, actually, if I can sell one, I can sell more. So I sold a few of them, maybe like 10, 15. And they were okay. But the more I sort of delved into the candle making world and spent more time doing it, I realised I wasn't actually making that good of a candle. It's passable, but it wasn't that good. And I think that has unravelled into a lifelong quest now to make the best possible candle I can make. But it also means I'm never entirely happy with what I make because I feel like I have to always do a little bit more to get that perfect sort of candle. But it was okay. I got some labels printed and they didn't quite fit the jar. So you can see on that one, like here, I've cut around it just to get it on there, so it looks a bit rubbish. I think after a while I managed to get some see-through ones like on that one and then put them there, but it served a purpose. It was the minimum viable product that I could make and it wasn't entirely crap. And then we moved to the next one because I sort of discovered like most people that are doing candles like this are only doing 1 wick, so I need to learn how to make a candle with 1 wick. So I bought these jam jars. And they were also okay. And what I really wanted to do was get like a bit of twine on there. I saw some candles in America, paddy wax, and they had like a nice little twine label around it. I thought that was really cool. I thought that would be something that would just help my brand stand out and just provide that kind of farmhousey sort of vibe. But all of these ones I was doing myself, printing them, cutting them out with a guillotine, like clipping the little hole, and then wrapping the twine around it. And then I decided the best way to get it on there was with a little elastic band. And the whole thing was just a nightmare. I hated doing it. I hated printing them, I hated cutting them, and I was doing this all on a little laser printer. So I started out doing everything with like, what's the bare minimum I need to get it done? So I had a laser printer. It's just starting out with just enough rather than waiting for the perfect time to do everything. So I thought, if I just do everything, and even if it's a bit crap, I can learn and improve, and that's kind of how I do most things. So as I've progressed, I figured I need to try and outsource these little labels because they were taking me too long. And the same with the jar. The jar was okay. It's kind of like, I think, had like 8 sides, so like an octagon. And I couldn't quite get that label to stick. It was okay. It was passable. I was making better candles as I went, and these ones actually burnt all the way down, which is decent. And then as we scroll down, this one on the left was my next product. I found these little honey jars. They were quite cheap, and they had lovely lids. I really like their style lids. I did not like these little black screw-on lids. I just don't think they look very good. This looked better. And with all the candles, I was just doing see-through labels on the front, and then the tag on the side was what tells you what the candle is, which I quite liked. But once again, just doing all those labels, I hated it. I hated every single bit of it. And then at this point, I think I got little rivets to put in them. I thought that to add a nice little element, but it was just too time consuming. And I knew if I wanted to scale, it's something I needed to think about. So as I started getting a bit more money and a bit more cash flow, this was kind of the next step. I found somewhere on eBay that was doing these lovely little labels, and they came with twine as well, so I wasn't having to cut the twine. I asked them to cut the twine to the right length, and then they did it, and then I had these beautiful little tags, which I still really like. And I think if I continue to do some jar candles, that's what I'm going to use. And then I started to get better labels. So I did a bit of designing on Canva, and I got these labels printed, and this is kind of where everything took off a bit. I did my first Christmas with these sort of labels, and I think I made like $1,500 to $2,000 profit. And I was like, wow, actually, this could be a thing. This could be actually something pretty decent. But I was never entirely happy with everything. Like, they were good. I just don't know if I could ever get the candles to smell enough, but I think that is just a problem with soy wax. I think it's so hit and miss sometimes that every now and then you just make a candle that doesn't smell great. And I just can't quite put my finger on it. But I guess if you're using a slightly natural product, that is always going to be the case. And I'd get the odd complaints that I couldn't smell anything on Amazon, and each one of those would just absolutely kill me. So I'd test everything to see if I could get it to work. But I digress. The other thing with these, so I've still got some here now. So the other thing with these candles is I'd have to put them in a little linen bag, and then in a box, and then a box sticker on that. And all of that just took a lot of time. Still in the back of my head, I'm like, can I do 400 of these a month and not want to blow my brains out? You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind doing repetitive tasks, but they need to be quick, especially if it's just me doing it. And that's kind of how I'm running at the minute. I'm a one-person business doing everything, from the marketing to the packaging to all of it. So it needs to be quick and it needs to be efficient. And then we scrolled down, and then I moved on to slightly better labels. And this is when I invested in a printer and started printing my own labels at home, because I was spending a lot of money on labels from Avery and a lot of money on labels from eBay. And the quality is much better than what I can do at home until I get a really good printer, but it just means I lacked flexibility. I'd have to wait for the labels, because cash flow is always an issue when you're bootstrapping your own little business. And I'd have to wait for the labels, and I can never buy that many at once, and I already had too many ideas, so I'd have like 10, 15 different scents, and then getting enough labels for each one was like 50 quid for each. It's just a lot, and a lot of stuff to have around as well. So I found myself, because I'm buying CLP labels as well, labels for the candles, just labels everywhere. I just have these folders full of labels, and because I'm not entirely that organised, I'd run out of stuff, and then have to wait for it to come back in stock, and it was just there. It's too much. But I really like the look of these labels, and I had really good success with one of my Shire candles, which had a similar label, and I think these little personal touches are just a step in the right direction. And then I move on to the one on the right, which are my tins. I've always wanted to do container candles, and I really like the jars. But getting good glass adhesion all the time was difficult, unless I get a label to wrap around the whole thing. So I started thinking and started playing around with stuff, and I started buying other people's candles just to see if they were any better than mine, and if I was missing something, because I felt like I just wasn't quite good enough. So I did a bit of market research and did a bit of planning, and I settled on a tin. I thought, right, it doesn't matter what it looks like in a tin, and it doesn't really matter what the top looks like, because I can do double pours. So I started playing around with it, and then I transferred my labels over to that and did bigger labels that wrap around of it. And then I think I started off doing, where's my other candle? Lost it. And I started doing labels like that, and then I started doing ones on the back, but then I thought actually, we can just progress, we can just do one label around the whole thing, and that's one job. And I've got the Amazon barcode on the label as well, which saves jobs rather than me doing 1, 2, 3 different stickers and printing them all off. This is just one sticker now. So as I've done it, I've sort of streamlined all the processes, and it's just made life a lot easier. And same with these little tins. I can do way more in one go than I can with these candle jars, because you're constantly having to wait for different temperatures and do different things. Granted, I still need to get to the right temperature to add the fragrance oil, but I'm just doing double pours. It saves me a lot of time. I just whack it all in, pour it, boom, done. And that's kind of the evolution of my little candle business so far. Just trying stuff, being a bit rubbish at it, and then improving as I'm doing it. And I think most people, whatever they do, whatever they want to start, they're waiting for the perfect time to do something, rather than just getting on with it. Whatever you do is going to be rubbish. Look back at my videos now. Like some of the ones I've done, I'm so robotic, I'm so monotonous, they're just horrendous to look at. I'm still not where I want to be exactly with it, but I'm getting better and better each time I do a video and each time I do something. That's kind of the way I look at all of this. Just slowly get better at what you're doing and just do it. And that is a little history, a little explanation of how and why I started this thing. And the why is always freedom, ultimately to buy back my freedom and work for myself, which is why I'm doing all of this. I've still got a full-time job and I do enjoy the job, so this is never knocking jobs, it's just the path I'm on. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed the video and this little history. There'll be other bits of vlog either side of this. Yeah, nice.